There you go.
Good evening, keepers of the cash. Gary B, the casual comic guy here, and my co-host tonight is none other than Digger Jim himself. How you doing tonight, Jim?
Doing good, doing good.
Have you had a good week so far?
I have. It's been a quick week with the holiday and everything. I enjoyed that extra day off.
See, I always enjoy the extra day off, but the rest of the week gets so mixed up because we get that extra day off that it ends up being more of a pain than it's worth. And our guest of the hour, none other than Phil from Philtastic Comics and Art. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Hey, everybody. I'm great, Gary. Thank you for having me. How's it going, Jim?
Going good. How are you, sir?
Not bad, not bad.
Now, before we start getting into the comments and stuff, what I like to do at the beginning of all these videos, Phil, and you probably know this by now, give a quick introduction of yourself, who you are, and what your channel's about. For those catching on a rewind who are not familiar with you.
Sure. I go by the name Philtastic Phil. I've been collecting comics on and off since I'm 14 years old. I'm 43 now, so you do the math. Really, my channel is not only just about comics and art, but I like to kind of tie it into other things that may touch in life, like cooking. Believe it or not many people like to watch those episodes, but I have fun doing them. I talk a little bit about Ruizing, which we could talk about as well, and really just basically how comics and my everyday life have kind of played into each other and affected one another. At the end of the day, I want to at least try to say something at least I think is entertaining, maybe funny, and hopefully people are watching so that I know I'm not just a guy in my basement in Jersey talking to my phone.
So I want to touch on Jersey for a second. I am a huge New Jersey Devils fan. Have been since they've gotten the league. They became my team. Are you a Devils fan, or are we ending the interview right here?
I'm hockey neutral. You know,
hockey neutral. Oh, okay.
Yes, yeah.
I'm the same. I'll go to a game and that'll be about it.
Yeah, like I think the last time I went to a game, I used to be active with the Elks, and they had like a cheap ticket night like 10 years ago at the Prudential Center, and that was pretty much it.
Oh, see, I've been down to Jersey 3 times to watch them play, in their old actually one shot saying Flyers. So I've been down to Jersey 3 times to watch the Devils. All 3 games I went to watch them play against Philly, and I think the Philly audience gets a bad rap because I've seen the Devils play against other teams, and by far the most fun I had watching Devils play is against the Flyers with Flyers fans, and they lost all 3 games that I went to watch them, and I was behind 13 rows behind Marty when he got his 100th shutout of his career against Philly in a 3-0 game, and had a great time every single time with the Philly fans that were there. It was just a blast. Now, I won't talk about Buffalo because that was a horrible experience with terrible fans. But Philadelphia, their fans were great. And we were in Jersey just having the best time hanging out and no beef, just nothing but fun.
Oh, that's good. That's good. It's not like Eagles fans.
No,
one shots in South Jersey, nice. But
I heard Eagles had like a jail in their place or something.
It's true.
Is that
in
true?
The old stadium, they used to have not only a jail but a court, so that if it was like a 3-day weekend and you got thrown in jail, you weren't waiting until Tuesday to see the judge.
Oh, we got a lot of Jersey in the house here. One shot,
psychedelic.
Oh man.
Yeah, and I always love going down to Kevin Smith's shop. Kevin Smith's shop. It's fun. The Secret Stash.
Oh yeah.
But I haven't been in a while. I heard it moved and it's in a new location from the last time I was there.
It's not far. It's only like 2 blocks down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now I remember going in there just for the fun of it. I didn't buy anything, guys. You know, Kevin Smith isn't giving his comics away. Their prices are pretty high in there.
I think the last time I was there was about 10 years ago, They were doing a filming for Comic Book Men. And one of my buddies and I just called him up. We were both just having like a bad week. And I was like, hey, I just found out Kevin Smith's there. Let's go. And we sat online for like 7 hours.
Wow.
But when we finally got there, it was worth it. We were actually talking to him for a few minutes. He signed a book for me. Like his, what's his book? I think it's called Tough Shit. But no, it was great. I had him call it. I think he called my mom. So, hey, my mom's on the phone. Can you say hi?
And Kevin Smith is one of those guys. I'm always entertained by him. And when he gives a heartfelt speech, it's so good.
Yeah.
He's great.
Well, I don't think he's too Hollywood. I think he likes to be outside of Hollywood. You know, his stories are always entertaining because it's like stuff that probably people like us would think about. And that's part of what makes, and I don't like to call when he talks stand-up because it's not comedy, but it turns out to be a really funny story. When he talks, when he finally says it's all over with, you're like, that was hilarious. So, and he just talks about cool stuff that comic book people like.
He does, and I like his point of views.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're not here for Kevin Smith. We're here for Phil. So, Phil, we're going to start with a few introductory questions because there's going to be people watching this that aren't familiar with you. They're probably the introductory ones are probably a few you've answered before. But what got you into the YouTube scene? We'll start with that, and then we'll go back to you collecting.
Okay. YouTube was kind of a funny story. I kind of, for lack of a better description, I kind of circled the bowl before I started a channel. I'd have to say it really was around the pandemic. Just like everybody, we were stuck home. Couldn't go anywhere, so we're watching a lot of YouTube. And every so often, I don't even know why, I started getting just random channels popping up. And Matt Woods was one of them. And I started watching more and more of his stuff. Also around this time, too, I was doing a lot more artwork. And I actually had, there's Matt, see?
I know, you say his name and he appears.
I know, it's like Candyman or Beetlejuice.
Right.
But I was doing a lot of artwork, and I actually had gotten involved with doing artwork for, if people in the Northeast, if they remember Opie and Anthony, I was doing some artwork for Opie's podcast. And I was listening to that a lot, and I was a big fan of Carl Ruiz, Chef Carl Ruiz. And when he kind of passed away, it kind of gave me that reminder in the back of my head, like, look, you know, don't die wondering if you should have done something, if you could have done something. So after watching Matt Woods a while, I just said to my wife, I was like, you know what, I'm going to just try to do YouTube. Maybe I'll do a couple of videos, and if it doesn't work, whatever. And I mean, if you go back and you watch some of my videos, yeah, they were pretty terrible. I thought I was doing like PowerPoint presentations. I didn't know iMovie, so there was really like no direction. I was just kind of making stuff on my iPad and showing it on my screen. I was making makeshift tripods. Let me tell you something. The fact that nothing fell over and broke is a feat all in itself. And just really started asking questions, asking Matt. Then I started following Reggie Collects a lot, and just got involved that way. And kind of really, I keep going back to Matt because he kind of led me to everybody else pretty much that I follow now, and I've kind of branched out from there.
Yeah, Matt's a great guy. I've had him on the channel a few times. He sent me a great AOK one time with Red Sonja, him and Joe, and just a nice down-to-earth person. And that's the thing, you get into YouTube from the comic perspective, and it's about the only place you run into a bunch of guys our age. I think Jim and I are over 50. We'll leave it at that. And but that you share this love with and can talk about, you know, because I don't know if you have someone in your personal life that you get to talk comics with. I'm lucky enough to have one or two, but most people don't have anyone. The only people they get to talk comics with are on YouTube and the friends they made there.
Yeah.
Now, what surprised you about YouTube once you started it? And what were did you have more positives and negatives, or was it kind of a balance of both?
Well, I mean, I've found that the internet is basically for everything. Um, Really, whatever you're looking for, you're going to find. You know, if you want to find um, negativity or people who are going to foo-foo everything, then you'll certainly find it. But I mean, for the most part, I follow and talk to positive people. Um, if somebody is negative or even just kind of um, combative or shooting down something, why don't we say before it even comes out? Like, you know, then I'm like, all right, I'm not going to pay too much attention to that. But really, what surprised me is that everybody, just like you said, everybody's got this kind of welcoming presence and wants to sit and discuss. You know, it's not standoffish or anything like that at all.
Right. It's
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
embracive, which is nice. And I'm like you. I don't watch any channels that have negativity. You know, and there's some big channels out there, and I'm not going to name any,
Yeah.
but I tried them out, and part of the reason they were making a name for themselves was with a negative culture. It's not me. If you have to be negative to get big, then I'll stay small.
Yeah.
There's, I'm an older guy. I have no need or no want to put anything negative in anybody else's life. And like I've stayed away from that whole acetate gate thing, and then with the breakup and the Clayton, I don't want to comment
Yeah.
on that. If someone's
Right.
life is going through some difficult times, that's rough, and it's tough being in the public eye when things aren't going your way. And I don't think enough people sit back and understand that sort of thing too. So I've kind of avoided all that stuff. And Instagram's been tough lately because it's been all over Instagram. So
Oh
I
yeah.
was kind of light on Instagram the last few days.
Right.
Because man, you're a father, you work a lot. When you get home, YouTube's my zen place. It's my escape. It's making the videos, making my content. That became my hobby. Is YouTube that way for you? Is it kind of a zen for you? You go there, you make a video, you're in your happy spot, you're talking about something you love, you're sharing it with an audience.
You know, I think like everybody, I like to share passions and things that I like. Um, it is a zen. At times, it could be a stressful zen, I guess you could say. Yeah, there's times I'll be sitting, it's like, I don't know what I'm going to do on the next video. What am I going to do? And you just do it and go from there. I've only had one video that I was very iffy on releasing.
Hmm.
It was about a month ago, and I called it, "This is the worst video I've ever made." I didn't even know why. I just had the urge to do a character. So I did this character, Chad, that for whatever reason people have taken to. And I forgot even, I think I was talking about the CBC Awards. And I wanted to do it like a home shopping type of thing. So I wanted to do a character. And I found it to be just so annoying and irritating. Then when I finished it, I was like, gee, you know, what if I offend somebody or something? And I got to the point where I was like, you know what? I put so much work into it. I'm just going to release it. And I sent Brian LCS a quick message like, hey, look, I didn't mean to offend anybody. I don't want to make fun of the awards or anything like that. And I didn't do anything like that. And people were just like, we love Chad. And I said, why? So he's got to come back at some point.
Maybe he should come on the video when they do the show.
Maybe. I can't tip off anything. I do want to have, I think, like a video or two before he comes back. I'm going to just warn people there's like an MCU style ending. And then after the video, just have Chad like walk by or something.
Nice. Oh, I know. It's tough. I don't watch my first videos. Like, I look at them, and by far, I'm no great YouTuber anyway. But looking at the first ones, I can at least see a journey I've made. Those first ones are rough. Yeah. There's like parts in the video where I'm paused, but my voice is still going. Everything's on. I'm like, oh my gosh! Like, how did I even get anyone subscribed to watch me? Like, how did that? They're hard to watch.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh. But you get a level of comfort when you're doing it after you get used to it.
Right.
Were you scared your first time live? I was. Like, I stayed away from live for a long time. And then once I started going live, I'm like, oh, there's nothing to this. Okay.
Same. Right. I stayed away. And even when I started up, I've gotten into the habit over the last couple of months of doing a Saturday morning video. there's always that first minute that it's on, and I'm like, are people here? You know, there's that delay, so you're trying to see those numbers tick up.
Yeah.
And it's just like, all right, I'm just going to be talking for a couple minutes. I know that there's a delay, and then everything just pops in.
Right. I've watched a couple of your Saturday morning lives. I've enjoyed them.
Thank you. Yeah, I think they vary in quality depending on how much coffee I've had.
Yeah.
And depending on if my son is up.
There we go. Matt Woods is watching us while he's sleeping in the woods. We'll keep the bears away, Matt. Don't you worry. Just show him my face. The bear will turn the other way and leave you alone.
The bear will sit and watch with him.
Right? Yeah. Oh, yeah, you can see Matt Woods with a little watch party on his phone out there.
He'll have all the animals around him, like Ace Ventura.
Sir, how you doing? Oh, goodness. All right, so let's talk. You said you've been collecting on and off your whole life. Mm-hmm. So what books or book got you into comics, and what kept you in comics?
Good question. The first thing that actually got me into comics were not comics at all. I figured it out. Yeah.
Interesting.
I've kind of been thinking about this for a while. I really started when I was about maybe 9 or 10 years old. Just kind of looking at Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, of course, like all kids my age, huge into them. But really, my friends started collecting that first series of Marvel cards.
Oh, and,
yeah. Masterpieces?
No, before that, just the series 1. And I just basically wanted to trade with my friends. I got these cards. I didn't know who anybody was. I remember looking at Wolverine and being like, what the hell's with this guy's mask? And I think I saw a picture of him without it, and I was like, that's a stupid haircut. You know, I'm 9 years old. Like, that looks dumb. I want turtles in pajamas and whatnot jumping around. And then from there, and eventually I got into the Marvel Masterpiece and everything like that too. I still have my cards back there. Then from there, I gradually... Ninja Turtles were on and off because I didn't have an LCS near me until I was in middle school. Right around when Superman died, we had an LCS open up in my town. And I gradually just started picking up X-Men, and it was mostly because of the animated series by that point. And I've been pretty much going since. I was more or less strictly X-Men, Batman maybe here and there, until I went to college. When I went to college, I went away from comics almost entirely. And then what brought me back was, I would pick up like a Wizard magazine every now and then just to see what was going on.
Right.
And they started talking about the origin of Wolverine will finally be told. So that Wolverine was my favorite character. After I made fun of his haircut years later, it was my favorite. And I was like, all right, well, let me check this out. And I just inched my way back in and kind of exploded and retracted a little bit from there, I guess you could say.
Now, were you one of the fans that was mad when they cast Tall Hugh Jackman as Wolverine? Did you? Because I didn't care who they cast. I was just excited to see a superhero movie coming out.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't in comics at that time, but when it came out, I was like, I don't care about his height. And I think that I can't remember the guy's name, the director. He got canceled. I don't remember. But
Bryan Singer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember him just doing an interview because people are like, well, they're not in their traditional suits. They're in leather. It's like, do you know how ridiculous a yellow leotard would look on celluloid?
With the tiger stripes on it?
Right.
Yeah. So that's when I was like, okay, yeah, I could buy into this.
Yeah. I remember when that movie came out and somebody where I was living at the time made a comment about, oh, that's the worst guy for Wolverine. And I'm like, well, who would you pick? And they always came with the same answer. Well, I don't know, but it wouldn't be him. I was like, okay, that's what I thought. You just, you're poo-pooing on something and you don't even have an answer for it. So,
and that's happened with every superhero movie coming out. I mean, look at Michael Keaton and Batman, and he was fantastic.
He was.
When they announced Michael Keaton, I'm like, oh, nice. I haven't seen him play anything serious. I got excited because I loved his other movies.
Exactly. I mean, that's the guy, Mr. Mom is now going to play Batman. That's awesome. I mean, that shows his range. So, yeah. No, I agree.
I remember wanting to see Russell Crowe as Wolverine because I had seen LA Confidential at that time. And it was like the first time I saw him. And there were some scenes in that he really got that kind of intensity and ferocity where I was like, yeah, I could see him as Wolverine.
Right.
And then if the stories I've heard at least are correct, he was offered the role and couldn't take it. He's like, oh, but this other guy, he's a friend of mine, you might look into him. And that was the song and dance man, Hugh Jackman.
Right. Well, his wife told him not to take it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, his wife straight up said, if you take this role, you'll be locked in this forever, and you'll be, Hollywood will look at you only one way. And I think he just said, well, I don't care because I'm going to be on Broadway anyway. I mean, when it's all said and done, that's what he always wanted to do to begin with. He is the music man.
I have a theory. I keep saying if they really want to bring him back as Wolverine, being that Deadpool likes to take all the different left turns that they could possibly take, I say make Deadpool 3 a musical, and he'll come running back to Wolverine.
Oh man!
I wonder if Gene's having internet. He keeps thinking the show's not going, but we're not live.
He might have some Canadian internet issues or something.
Right. I just said hi to him in chat. So, but I want to get back to your earlier comment when you're watching the X-Men cartoon, because one of my favorite things to ask on this show is what cartoons influenced your taste when you were growing up. What did you like? Like for me, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, Thundar the Barbarian, just sort of cartoons, anything Hanna-Barbera, stuff like that. What did little Phil like to sit down and enjoy watching?
Anything with monsters or swords or space. He-Man, Transformers, all the classics, Thundercats. Right. I was a pretty, easy kid to please. Like, okay, guy with a sword or laser gun in space, big monster, I'm sold.
Right. Yeah.
I'll give you, by the way, a fun fact about the X-Men animated series. And I like to share this with people, but I finally feel like I'm on a big enough audience where maybe people pick up on this. I've never seen this online when I've Googled or whatever. The X-Men animated theme song is actually a Rod Stewart song.
Really?
Look up Rod Stewart, Crazy About the Girl. It's immediate. You'll find it. You'll hear it right there. My dad did the same thing when I was a kid. He was like, yeah, here, play it. You hear it almost immediately.
Wow.
That's going to blow my mind when I do that.
Yeah. Now I kind of like, all right, I'll be right back.
Yeah. I would say play it here, but YouTube will shut us down.
Yeah, they would.
Johnny Quest was, Johnny Quest was, I love Johnny Quest.
Yeah, I mean, Gary, and you can tell with each person you interview when they answer that, because for you and me, it would be like straight up Super Friends, anything Hanna-Barbera. I mean, Johnny Quest, because when we were little, that's what was out.
Right.
And we're just a skosh bit older than Phil. And Phil's like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Thundercats, all of He-Man. Whereas by that point, I was probably, I will confess, I loved Thundercats. I was, but it's just a different period in time. That was where, and when you said it, I said, okay, that's how you can tell.
And I've always been a Scooby-Doo fan. I still watch the movies when they come out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You're never too old for Scooby-Doo.
Oh, heck no.
Oh, yeah. I was lucky enough where when I was younger, you could still catch reruns of Hanna-Barbera. I think it was like on USA. So I saw like episodes of Thundara and Scooby-Doo. I remember watching Jabberjaw.
Yeah, Jabberjaw, sure.
Yeah, the Snork Switch. Yeah, the Snork Switch. I don't know why. I just thought of the other day. It was like basically they're Smurfs underwater.
Yeah.
The Snorks. I love the Snorks. I like the Snorks more than the Smurfs.
Yeah, wow. You know what it is?
I love underwater stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of remember the Snorks theme song, but not much. But the Smurfs theme song was just too...
Yeah.
I don't know, like...
Yeah.
It's
Johnny
one of those...
Quest, though, did have an awesome theme song.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That thing got you going as a kid. You were ready.
Yeah.
You were ready for action when that ended.
One of the first CDs I bought was a cover of Saturday morning cartoon songs. And one of them was Reverend Horton Heat doing, it was a mashup of Johnny Quest and then Catch the Pigeon.
Yeah.
And to this day, I just remember just the guitar on the Johnny Quest thing. Like you're right. You're ready. You're ready to jump. Like, yeah, if you were a UFC fighter, I guess you'd come to the ring in that song or something. That'd be awesome.
Wow. That's
now,
crazy.
With comics, you said you're a big Wolverine fan.
Mm-hmm.
Is he your all-time favorite character? And what were some of the stories that you consider some of the all-time best stories to you that you will still go back and read today and just have the same love for?
Oh, that's a good one. He is my all-time favorite. I tend to like, I wouldn't say I go back and read them over and over again, but I tend to basically like the stories now that everybody kind of finds hokey, like the Larry Hama era.
Yep.
Like they recently did that Patch series. And
Mm-hmm.
a bunch of the reviews I read kept saying, oh, this feels kind of old-fashioned or out of place. I was like, well, no, it's in that style. That's how it was. It was great.
I've enjoyed it.
Yeah. I was like, that was before, Wolverine was not allowed to smoke anymore. He could just do whatever he wanted to. If I had to go back to individual stories, I think I'd have to say my favorite was right after he lost. Yeah. Okay. He listened to this.
Yeah. Everybody's commenting.
Listen to it.
I blew mine. I wonder if Rod Stewart's watching now. And he's like, all right, just send my lawyers to Disney.
Wait, everybody send this video to Rod Stewart. Let's get some play.
You know what's weird? I can't remember their names. The people who produced, I think, the animated series came out with a hardcover book maybe a year or two ago. And I, not knowing who they were, I was like, oh, read the book. So great. By the way, did you know this little tidbit that this theme song is actually this Rod Stewart song? And I'm thinking like they probably just looked at us like, okay, we're not going to acknowledge that one.
Nice.
But I say my favorite era, I think, of Wolverine stories was probably right after he lost his adamantium, just because it was like, okay, before he lost his nose, but after he lost the adamantium. Why don't we say that? Just because I felt like they were throwing everything at him, going up against Juggernaut with bone claws, Cyber, who I think was a great villain that never really got his due, just when because it was like, all right, he's always had these advantage of these claws. Now he doesn't have that anymore. Can he still be that big tough guy?
Yeah.
Right. It's still, well, Wolverine's one of those characters. And although I'm not the biggest fan of Wolverine, I know I think the appeal to Wolverine is the same appeal that Conan and Red Sonja have to me as characters. Is they adapt to any situation and they're survivors. It doesn't matter what happens to them. They're able to pull through it and get through it. They always rise above whatever is thrown, and you can heap buckets on them. They find a way to persevere. And I think that's the attraction to those characters.
Yeah,
for sure.
Because you can't see like the stuff that happened to Wolverine with the adamantium being ripped out. You wouldn't see anyone else survive that. And you could say, yeah, but he has his healing abilities. But still, that kind of pain would like just shrivel most people, and he just comes back for more. And
the psychological damage alone would be wrecking, and he's been through it so much that he's prepared for it. Now, with that said about the storyline, since you are Phil with fantastic art, who are some of your favorite artists during the time you've been collecting?
My favorite current modern day artist, I did a video about him a while ago, is Mike Del Mundo.
Okay.
I know that's some people don't care for his work because it is very abstract. But I would say he has done what I would call if you really want to see the quintessential comic book page, in my opinion, get yourself a copy of Elektra #9. It was probably like 2 runs ago. I don't know the year. I know Blackman was writing it. And I'll be the first to admit it wasn't a great series writing-wise. It was just okay. But there is a 2-page spread. If you have the Marvel Unlimited app, I know it's on there, where you have this giant heart, and they section it off into not so much panels, but it really tells the origin of Elektra, but not from like a narration view like we're used to seeing it, kind of like from her own view. And around this time in the Daredevil comics, if you're not familiar, Murdoch was engaged to a deaf woman, I think.
Mhm.
And it was kind of like just there. So it was like she was just finding out about this from Matt Murdock. So it was heartbreak on top of origin. It's the stuff that comics are made of.
Okay.
Wow. I'm gonna have to look
Yeah.
up those panels.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And he, I mean, if you follow Mike Del Mundo, he has some great humor too. There's a picture he did that I think he was selling as a print at one point of Galactus basically taking a big chunk out of the Earth like it's an apple, like that kind of funny stuff. Yeah.
I'll look it up.
Right, that's got to be cool too. Because you always
Yeah.
wonder why Galactus, he had the big things coming down, but you always wanted to see like when he grows. Just Galactus is one of those tough ones because you got to scale him down for anyone to be able to fight him. Otherwise, he's just too omnipotent.
Right.
Yeah. And he's one of those characters I think that he's difficult to really make interesting, at least in the modern day, in my opinion. I think Mark Waid did a good job the last time he was on Fantastic Four. And was it Al Ewing that was on the Ultimates that made him the life bringer?
Right.
Yeah.
Are there any old school artists that you favor more than others?
I really, really loved Mark Teixeira.
Oh yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that was my Wolverine artist when he started.
Okay. Yeah.
The Kuberts, Andy and Adam to a different degree. I like a lot of Chris Spacello's early work from Generation X. I think more modern stuff sometimes he tends to get too muddled.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's like I remember his Amazing Spider-Man run. There was a big fight between Spider-Man and Flat Top, I think. And at one point, the action was just kind of so all over the place with the style. You really couldn't tell what was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Silvestri, really kind of all the big hitters, I guess you could say, past that.
Right.
It's funny going back and seeing some of the big names today, seeing some of their humble beginnings in books that you don't know they even worked on. And then when you see it, like, oh,
yeah,
you see like, well, that's a little rough, and you can see flashes of who they're going to be.
Right.
In the art.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
like
just
Jim Lee was in Alpha Flight and did some Alpha Flight, and you're like, wow, that doesn't even look like him, but you could see a little bit of it, and then later on he does some amazing Batman work and so forth.
Well, Silvestri was in Conan and King Conan. He did a bunch of those issues, and you're like, doesn't even look like his art today.
Yeah.
Now, are you strictly Marvel, or do you cross over to the DC side sometimes, or even Indies for that matter?
Up until recently, it was a little bit of everything. When we found out we were having our son, I knew I had to scale back big time.
Sure.
So I cut down my pulse significantly, and I went digital with a lot of things. To be honest with you, I have the Marvel service. I still get paper comics, of course, but some things that maybe are just not interested in collecting, but interested in checking out. I'll look at Marvel Unlimited. I am looking into the DC service. I'm kind of really just waiting to see what happens with the merger. I figure I'll sign up, and then the next day they'll be like, "Yeah, we're just not going to do it anymore."
Right.
And then Indies, I'll pick up. Indies and Image, I'll just pick up whenever and wherever I could get.
Sure.
And a lot of those too. And I know it's tough to say this about the Indies because there's some great stories there, but a lot of them, if you just wait, you'll find them in the dollar bins after, and you'll get the whole run cheap.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You can have a great story, and there's some I paid full price for, enjoyed the read all the way through, and then a month later, they're all in there for a quarter of the price I paid for. I'm like, oh.
I'm actually starting to realize that some of those books I'd rather just wait for the trade. I want the whole story, and I want to read it in no more than 2 or 3 volume trade and be done with it. I don't want to collect all the floppies for it.
See, and I should do that more too, because I'll sit there and when I'm collecting something that's only 5 or 6 issues, I don't read it till I have all the issues, and I sit down and read them all through.
Right. Yeah. And sometimes I just feel like the trade would be easier.
Yeah. I was the same way with collecting limited series.
Sure.
And really DC kind of blew me up on that I did that with the Rorschach series.
Oh
and
yeah,
with
yeah.
Batman and Catwoman, because I'm like, okay, let me put these aside. And when they're all come out, I'll sit down and read them one day. And it took so long for them to come out. By the
Right.
time the 12th issue came out, I was like, all right, where did I put issue 3? Where's this one? But I've used to do a lot of the trade backs. I haven't anymore just because space is kind of a premium.
Yeah.
I think the last time I really waited on a story to read it in trade was Mr. Miracle?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Tom, was that Tom King?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there are series that I'll just read strictly in trade. Saga, I was late to the party on, so I figure I'll just collect the trades as they come out.
Sure.
That's what I did. I read Saga all in trades.
Yeah. And it's such a great read. Like I've read, I think 2 or 3 volumes of that in one sitting.
Right.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
once you get going on it, you cannot put that down. You love the characters so much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
see,
actually.
I've never read it, so I
Yeah.
people
Ooh,
like you gotta
Samurai
read
Samurai.
that. No.
Chris, if you had that book, you'll have to post some pictures on Instagram of it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, it's weird. 3 days ago, I had never heard that book, and now I saw it like 4 times.
That's the first I've heard of it.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, 'cause I think
Yeah.
Reggie talked about it in a video, and then if I'm not mistaken, I think Trev, the shipping guru, just showed it off on his IG. I want to say
Wow.
earlier today.
Trev's a great guy.
Yeah.
I got to check out that on IG.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've been avoiding IG for the most part just because of all the negativity. So I got to get on there and check out a few of the guys' posts. So
Yeah, absolutely.
but man, when your feed gets flooded with that stuff, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't.
Yeah, you know, when everything started happening with acetate, like I scrolled past a lot of the negative ones, but some of the ones where it was just like, okay, this is a really kind of like this crossed the line. I just like unfollowed those pages completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some that I'm just like, oof, you gotta
Yeah.
go. I don't need this. That wasn't even funny, and it's just poor taste. So
Yeah.
now I did have one question that I wanted to circle back to real quick, Gary. On your,
Go ahead.
it was one of your, not too long ago, your Saturday morning chat, and you did a whole discussion about, and it goes back to what you just said a few minutes ago. Space is premium. Did you achieve your objective when you had a week off to do what you wanted to do to get your books organized because space is a premium?
Okay.
And I was like, I didn't check that. I need to know.
I have to ask you first. Did my wife tell you to ask me?
No. I was like, I straight up legit
Yeah.
remember it vividly going, brother, I get it. I know I've got this room here, this little space, and this is it. I have to keep it clean. I have to move books around. There's no expanding. My wife has already declared this room is yours and you don't get to leave it. And I'm like, oh, that's rough.
It's still a work in progress. I came a big way, but I'll say this. I underestimated the number of bags and boards I needed. So
oh, man. Yeah.
I just put another BCW order in this morning. So that'll resume probably just like during the weekends once they come. Yeah, it's hard for me to sit and do it. It's not that I mind doing it. It's just that the space that I'm in now, that I use for YouTube videos and that I do all the bagging and boarding, I also work in. So it almost feels like, okay, coming back into the office, but I'm not working. Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah.
No, it does.
I had to bag and board a bunch of stuff one night, and I just went live with it. It said bagging and boarding and chat. And people popped in, and it made it go by a lot faster as I was doing it.
I thought about doing that, but the only thing that prevented me is that I use the CLZ app on my phone to just organize everything. And I'll be the first one to tell you, I'm not organized at all. My collection was all over the place, and then I had it in a storage unit for a couple months. And then I got into a spot where basically I signed up on the storage unit for one monthly price, and it slowly like tripled in no time. So I said to my wife, I got to bring everything back here. And it's been here. And right now I have a pile over here of A, a pile of B, a pile of C. And my wife comes downstairs. She's like, this really looks bad. I was like, look, it's like a hot dog. You don't want to see how it's made. You just want to enjoy the finished product, and she finally sees a little bit of progress. It's hard for her to see the vision of it being all organized, but I promise her it's there and it will get done.
Now, is your wife a collector of anything as well, or are you just the only kind of collector in the house?
I'm really the only collector. Before we met, she collected just little knickknacks and keychains and stuff, and she's like, "Oh, I have too many. I have to stop." And I was like, "There's such a thing as stopping."
Right? What is this stuff?
Too many? What's this
about?
too many? Yeah, what's
Honey,
this
that's
too
a
many
joke. I know
nonsense?
she's watching. That's a joke. Relax.
Yeah, I mean, I feel you. That's why I had to ask. I was like, wonder how far he got.
Yes,
because that's not easy.
Not as far as I hoped. We'll say that.
Okay.
And that is the thing. Bags and boards, man. They've got, and even comic boxes have gone way up. It's tough.
Oh yeah.
Like bag and boards now, you're in for like $22 just for one pack of each.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I'm always like, oh man, how many books can I get with that? But nowadays it's like 4 books. So it doesn't matter.
I'll say this though. I did want to upgrade my collection into one of those nice kind of organized systems like Matt has. That's actually why I started watching Matt Woods, because I looked at his cabinets and I was like, I want to learn how to make those. And then after he told me how, I was like, I couldn't make those. I need to know somebody handy who could do that.
Yeah.
Well, I think that should be Matt Wood's next series of videos, is visiting all our places and building cabinets.
Right.
I told him he should have a show where he comes and he's like, I could make this comic book room better.
Right.
Right. The Matt Woods experience in all of our places.
There you go. But I've kind of resigned myself to the fact, I could probably try to do something. And I was like, you know what? Next house will do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, there's a guy that could do it too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I don't think there's anything Joe can't make.
Joe would be like, how big do you want it? How many drawers do you want it? How deep do you want it? Okay, 15-minute, like, Chinese food. 15-minute, that'd be Joe.
Right, and then he'd find a way to launch it into space.
Yeah. Oh, you want rockets with it? No problem.
My dad tried to make a cabinet for me when I was still at my mom's house years ago, and measured out the boxes, and we figured, we could fit like 10 long boxes in this. So finally put it together, bring it to my mom's. We couldn't fit it through the door.
The door, yeah.
Right.
Or so it's 3,000 pounds already because it's so sturdy. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that could be a problem. That could be challenging.
I don't know. I know my space, like, everything, it does not take long to start getting. It does not take long to start getting too much. Like it's amazing. Like you get a long box like this, will last a while. Before you know it, that's full, and you're on to the next one. But I want to circle back to Wolverine again. There's a lot of Wolverine movies out there. Which one's your favorite?
My favorite is the Wolverine. That's that second one.
Really? Nice.
I like Logan. Don't get me wrong.
I like the second one a lot too.
Yeah.
I don't think it gets enough credit.
Yeah, you know what it is? It feels like it was the most authentic, going back to that Larry Hama kind of era. Like it really feels like it's from that comic.
But that was, and I love the Easter egg at the end too. With that suit that he showed in the briefcase was my favorite suit of his.
Was that? I was saying, was that like in the deleted footage? I didn't remember.
I think it was deleted. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I remember seeing screenshots. Yeah.
But I was like, oh man, I would have killed to see that suit.
Yeah.
But all right, so let's. I had something here. So I wanted to get to the art part. So the art obviously stands for more than the art in the comics. You yourself, you said are an artist, and the picture you sent me had you with an easel. So what kind of art is it that Phil is into, and what kind of art do you do, Phil?
Well, my stuff has slowed down tremendously since my son was born. It's just the energy is just not there. Mostly I've been doing for the past year or so, mostly digital art. I do have to pick it up and ramp it up really this month because I like to do Battober. So I really want to get into the swing of it before October starts. Knowing me, I'll start on like September 29th. But I also do a lot of watercolor, a lot of acrylic. I do want to get just back into straight kind of pencil and ink drawing. I received, I think my mom a couple of years ago bought me a few of those thick kind of how-to books from the Joe Kubert School that I keep saying one Sunday I have to sit down and just start it. And I figured maybe it would be a good video series, but it's just too much going on, too much, energy you need to do it. So it's something hopefully I get to do sooner rather than later.
So I was catching up on the comments. You had a lot of people agreeing with you on the bags and boards and about the Wolverine movie.
Yeah.
All your Wolverine stuff, it has found an audience tonight from the Rod Stewart. You had everybody looking it up.
There we go.
No doubt.
I need everybody to spread the word on that. See?
Now, is the X-Men theme your favorite comic, your favorite cartoon theme too? Or do you have, or what is your favorite musical theme from any movie or cartoon series?
Wow, that's specific. Just a comic related series?
Yeah, comic related.
Okay. I definitely like the X-Men theme song. If I want to go with a favorite theme from a comic movie or whatnot, I'd have to go with just the Ramones Spider-Man song.
Oh, the Ramones one is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
And I like that Wonder Woman theme is pretty good too by Tina Gow.
I like more in the modern movies when not even the whole songs, but just like when you saw in Batman versus Superman when she was coming on the screen, just that erratic like da 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 da. Yeah.
There's
that woke me up.
Sometimes the orchestration is, it doesn't even have to have words, just the orchestrated. Star Wars is perfect for this. They'll have some of the best orchestra music. I was in a buddy of mine's car, and I was like, "What are we listening to?" And he's like, "Oh, it's such and such from Mandalorian." I'm like, "It is? This is amazing!" And you don't think about it when you're watching the show because it's in the background. But when you just playing it in your in your vehicle, you're like, "This is getting you."
I'm gonna have to message you guys the Tina Gow video of her performing the Wonder Woman theme song. You will be hooked. It is amazing. With the big it's great. When she's sitting there, it's just you know what? And that's one of those movies too. I was like, But then when Wonder Woman showed up, I was like, ooh, okay. It just like enlivened the whole movie.
Oh yeah. Batman versus Superman. I was falling asleep at that point in the theater. And just as soon as I heard that, I literally just woke up and perked up like, oh, something's happening. Okay.
A rousing review.
Right.
Hey, something happened.
I have to say that if you guys know Anthony Desiato, I don't know if you know him. He has a podcast, few podcasts, Digging for Kryptonite, and he's done a very good documentary called My Comic Shop Country. He has suggested to me, he's like, oh no, if you watch the director's cut of Batman versus Superman, it's much, much better. And like, I just can't do that knowing how long it is. I don't know the possibility that it will be better. It's just, I can't put that energy in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, Gary, you're
muted. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was opening a Monster and didn't want it to get too loud on the thing, so I was mute. I'm sorry. Now I just lost my train of thought. It's tough because I watch all the movies. It doesn't matter if it's DC, Indie, or Marvel. I'm just in for them. And some of them I don't think are as bad as people said, Like I even enjoyed Morbius. The ones I didn't enjoy, and I tried, was Venom. And if you enjoyed Venom, awesome. But that might have more to do with that's never been a character I've liked in comics either.
Right.
But since we're talking about the movies, I wanted to ask you, what character that hasn't been developed yet would you like to see featured in a movie or a show?
In a movie or a show?
Yeah.
So that's a good one. I mean, Marvel's kind of hard to put your finger on just because they kind of throw everybody in just when you least expect it. Guardians is an example of that.
Just
Yeah.
kidding. No, just-
That's a good question. I'm trying to
Because
think.
when you're watching, there's never like, oh man, I'd really like to see this character, and they haven't
Yeah.
done them yet.
Yeah.
You know what it is? I think especially when I'm watching the Marvel films, it's just been that I've accepted early on that, look, this is going to diverge from the stories that I've read. So I'm kind of like, all right, I'm all in to just hear whatever you're going to put out there. I'm kind of, as far as DC goes, I'm kind of sick of seeing a lot of the retreaded Batman villains. I think that's why the second Suicide Squad especially was just so great, because you have pretty much, with the exception of Harley and the characters from the first film, everybody was just kind of introduced in there fresh.
Right.
And I'm one of the people that liked the first movie. I know not a lot of people did. I liked it.
I couldn't do it. My wife loves it. I don't know why. But
I couldn't do the Harley one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was abysmal. That was abysmal.
Yeah.
But I think with what you're saying on the second one also is they're kind of, a lot of them were like second tier villains. You know,
Yeah.
You didn't have the big name villains in there, like the Joker and the Riddler and so forth. You had like second tier, what I called second tier type villains, and that fascinated me.
Yeah, and I think that's where James Gunn tends to shine, at least with comic book films.
Sure.
I mean, look, he was able to take Peacemaker, who was a total douchebag in that second movie.
He was.
And yet the series was just great, though. You know what it is? I think they managed to out Deadpool with the series. Like that second Deadpool film, they were trying to really tie it in as like a family experience, like he's a part of a bigger thing.
Right.
And Peacemaker was able to successfully pull that off in the series.
Right.
I thought so too, because in the movie, you're just like, you hate that guy the whole time. You're like, this
Yeah.
guy's just a dick. But then the writing, I didn't think got enough credit. Like, I watched the Peacemaker series, and you really do start feeling bad for him.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
And you start empathizing with him.
Right. They touched on why he became that way. I think it's a lot of psychological trauma.
I would have
But,
watched that whole series for Harcourt alone, though.
Yeah. Well.
But that was Vigilante was hilarious in that series too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And the conversations they have. And do you guys watch any of the behind the scenes with him and John Cena? It was so funny, the riffing.
Yeah, no, I don't
No.
want any of that.
They
Is that
have
on
it
HBO?
On HBO.
Yeah, I'll have to go check it out.
I just feel bad for the guy who played Judo Master.
Oh yeah.
He had an appearance at Garden State Art Fests, I think it's Garden State. No, I'm sorry, Garden State Comic Fest or Comic Con.
Yeah.
I can't keep them straight anymore. Which is was about 10 or 15 minutes from here, and I happened to be at a garage sale, and the guy who actually started Garden State Comic Con was there, and we were chatting. And I said, "You realize you're just going to have people like throwing Cheetos at him?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, we've prepared him. He's not going to get through one con without somebody just bringing him a bag of Cheetos at least to sign."
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, we made it actually the VIP badge.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's weird because you got to embrace the weird stuff that your character does that the fans latch on to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Now.
For sure.
Let's get into. I want to get into this question a little bit because I know where Jim lies on this. Now, Jim is notorious, and he says it all the time, that he likes art over story, and he's mainly about the art. Now, are you mainly a reader, and how important to you is the balance between art and story? Does a story, if the art's bad, can you not complete a good story? Or if the story's good, will it carry you through bad art?
I think if it's a great story and the art is at least enough where it doesn't get muddled, I can deal with it. A perfect example was a couple years ago, Ed Brisson did a limited series for Bullseye. It was a great, great story. The art in it, in my opinion, if you differ, go ahead, was just horrendous and horrible. But it was a great story. I stuck through it until the end. Whereas more recently, I'm just dropped the recent run on Marauders,
Right.
where not only was the story terrible, but the artwork was just up until the latest issue, just too cartoony for my taste, but to the
Okay.
point where you just couldn't see and you couldn't figure out what was going on.
Right.
So really, if a good story will make up for some terrible art in my book.
Okay.
And it's tough for me because I've found myself wavering both ways. Like I've seen a book I've really been interested in with a writer I like, but the art has been so bad. Like a recent one that I really wanted to read was Batgirls. I opened up that first issue and there was no way I could get through that art.
Right.
I was excited. I closed the book, I set it back in the shelf and never returned to it.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
do
the
the
art
same.
just threw me off that bad. And the same thing is, as I've had books where I'm like, oh my gosh, the art's amazing, but I'm falling and the writing isn't good enough to keep me
Right.
interested. Where I'm falling asleep halfway through the book because yeah, it's pretty, but this is going absolutely nowhere.
Nowhere.
Yeah.
And you know what? I mean, art is subjective to what you like as an individual, and you're gonna pick up books and go, "Wow, this is perfect. This is right what I want." And it might, like you said, the story may stink, but it still is the driving force for me. I mean, in that Batgirl's case in point, I was all prepared to jump into that book, Gary, but I opened it up and was like, "Oh, this is gonna hurt my eyes to sit there and try to read this. I can't do it." So
Right.
why would I pick up a book if the art's that bad?
And
Yeah.
it's tough too because it's like they didn't understand who the audience for that book was by that art.
Right, right. It
Were they,
almost looked too kid.
let me, like you said, it was very, I didn't read it at all. Was the story itself geared more towards like kids too, or was it, because you
I
said
think
the art
it
was a little
was more of an
younger?
adult story, but the art was just from the review. I watch reviews because there's a guy that reviews this stuff that I watch his DC reviews. His Minutia Minute.
Oh
Yeah.
He's a
yeah,
really,
he's
yeah,
awesome.
he's a
I
great
love his
guy, and
Batman
I
stuff.
love his reviews and the way he talks about books. And I find myself in line with the way he talks and thinks. So, and from his reviews on that, it seemed, obviously not a dark adult story, but it seemed like adult situations. They're all coming together as a team. And even he said the art doesn't fit the tale they're telling.
Right, right.
Yeah, that would probably just distract from it too much then.
And now we haven't touched on indies. We've touched on DC. We've touched on how much you like Wolverine.
Mhm.
But has there been any indie books that have really drawn you in and stories that you connected with? I know we mentioned Saga, but anything besides that really hit a chord with you?
The longest running indie series I've been reading, if you want to still count Image as indie, and that works for me, I guess, for this answer, I've been reading Monstrous from day one. Great, great story. I encourage everybody to check it out. I don't typically like fantasy stories, but the artwork, first of all, is immaculate. The story itself is really like none other. And it's starting to draw to a close, but it's one of those stories that just kind of pulls you in and has this great separate world all on its own.
Now, are you a horror guy as well?
Not too much. I dabble a little bit. Like the most I'll go with horror. Like I've read Gideon Falls.
But
Yeah,
not
I
even
didn't.
in movies or television either. Just horror's not your genre.
Yeah, it's just not my thing. Like a lot of like your standard horror movies, I just kind of saw kind of like cheesy, you
Mm,
know.
Right.
But yeah, there are kind of standouts. Like I wouldn't count Sandman as horror, but of course I'll read that. I've read that. I've watched a little bit of it so far. Straight up horror movies. Of course, I like classics like The Shining. That sequel they came out with a couple years ago, I think the name of it was pretty good. I liked that one too.
You know, that one was good. I
Yeah.
thought that was like, I watched it with no expectations and thought I really enjoyed it from beginning to end. I thought it was fantastic.
You know what it is, and this is something I have to kind of tease a little bit because I can't go into too much detail with. When we moved into this house, we had a lot of strange issues going on that we had to have taken care of, and as a result, my wife we have one TV in the house. My wife, it's a small house. My wife has a rule like, look, we're only going to watch. We can't watch horror movies at night because it will just freak her out too much. So anything that she might be remotely afraid of, scared of, even like the latest season of Stranger Things, we only watch during the day. That's yeah.
But see, I will put a horror movie on to go to sleep. It relaxes me.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Especially if it's John Carpenter's The Thing.
Boop. Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm in a happy place. But it's tough because horror movies it's a genre, right? That it's either done really well or you know everything that's going to happen as soon as the movie starts. And if I know everything that's going to happen, I'm like, ugh. It's why I don't like slasher flicks. I'm not a slasher horror guy.
Yeah.
They're ultimately boring to me. The guys catch up. It's just about how he kills the people. That's boring. Now, like a good, twisty, supernatural tale or an alien threat or something or some fun, or I even like the B movie Cheeseballs. If it's a fun creature flick, I'm all for it. If you make a great creature. But I just can't do the slashers. They bring me to tears. And you know, Jim, I'm a huge John Carpenter fan. The one movie of his I'm not a big fan of is Halloween, and everybody loves it. I'm like, it's Michael Myers. Stabby, got it.
Right. But that's kind of probably what really got him on the map. So
it is. But I much prefer The Fog. And there's no blood in The Fog. But The Fog has this permeating sense of dread throughout the whole movie, which is so good. And so does The Thing. It's about the setting and the atmosphere that makes it. Sorry, we got off track. Phil started talking.
No worries. No worries.
But all right, so let's get back to you. So we talked about some cartoons. We talked about movies. Now, are you and your wife? Are you guys connoisseurs of the TV shows that are coming out too? You said you watch Peacemaker. Do you guys watch the Marvel ones like the She-Hulk and Miss Marvel? And are you enjoying them as well?
Oh yeah, we've watched all the Disney Plus series. I've enjoyed them. I've enjoyed them more than she has. I'll say that. But she's a big fan of She-Hulk. She's a big fan of the Ms. Marvel series. I'm gonna get her watching the Daredevil shows. Before we met, she hadn't seen a whole lot of comic movies or shows. So by the time we were married and living together, that was kind of like just as the Netflix series were going to go away. Yeah. So I think she wanted
some goodness ahead of her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I think we had started watching Jessica Jones.
Right.
And then, the problem I think with some of the Netflix series is that they just kind of, in my opinion, went on just a little too long.
Too long. Correct. Yeah. I agree 100%.
Yeah. And she kind of lost interest. She's like, well, I want to watch Daredevil, because I was like, okay, I'm going to watch Daredevil season 3. And me just being the comic book nerd guy, I was like, well, we have to go back and start with season 1 first.
Got to see the journey.
Right. Well, she didn't want to do that. And that by that time it was like, all right, well, it's off of Netflix. So now maybe that he's going to be in She-Hulk, we'll go back and watch it on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Moon Knight she liked too. Hey, Joe.
See, I love Miss Marvel too. Like that it was getting so review bombed, and it came out. I went and watched it apprehensively. Man, I was completely charmed every single episode. I love that show so much. The cast was so endearing.
Well, I think they just opened a whole new area for them to grow as a character, and I think that's the ultimate. I mean, me personally, this is my personal opinion, that I think that's where Marvel's going. Okay, I think it's not about me or even you. This is a whole next little generation that they need to get involved in, and Miss Marvel's character is right there in the front line, just like the female Hawkeye, and now Black Panther's coming out, and you're going to see Riri.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically they're prepping. I mean, Spider-Man is already in. He's such a young character. They're slowly letting him move up in age, but it's a slow go. And they constantly put quips in Spider-Man about, this. Remember this old, what did he say in that one? I saw this old sci-fi movie where they went around, and they're like, whoa, 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 it's not that old. And he's like, oh yeah, it's ancient.
Oh yeah.
So he's telling you, hey, I'm a young guy, and you guys are the old guard.
Right,
and
the Star Wars he was talking about.
Right, yeah. And the thing about it is that's, they played out all of these characters. We need to bring in fresh new blood, and they're doing it. I think they're doing it okay. I think they're putting their own individual stamp on each one. So,
have you read much of the Ms. Marvel series?
I have not read any of Ms. Marvel series.
Neither have I.
And I still enjoyed the show.
Well, you know what it is to me, and I read up until the co-creator G. Willow Winslow was off the series. I read that, and I read a little bit of afterwards. But from my perspective, at least that first arc, and you could find it online, you could find it in trade. It wasn't so much that you liked her because of her powers or what she can do. It occurred to me that basically she's us. She's the fan because she's such a fan of everything Marvel.
Right.
So she approaches this world like one of us would, I guess, if we were in there.
And that's where you connect, huh?
Almost took down the phone. Yeah, and that's what brought her in. I'm Italian. I have to talk with my hands. It's a hazard.
Right. So
tell me what you're saying, man. What are you saying? Are you saying you like the character? No, exactly. I agree. I did read the Champions series, or Champions Outlawed or something, and I enjoyed it. I read it for what it was, the birth of another generation of heroes. And, people just have to start to accept that that's where things are moving forward. I mean, you can't stay with Iron Man, Cap, and Thor forever.
Oh yeah.
You have to bring in some fresh new blood, and I'm okay with it. I have my books to go back and read, for those those particular characters.
Yeah.
So, they don't change.
Yeah.
It's funny that you kind of say that, because lately I've noticed, just reorganizing my collection, there's been characters who I've just kind of hit the wall on. Like I read Batman since I got back into comics up until Tynan's run was over, just because I realized that I pretty much read all of the Batman that I would want to read.
Sure.
And you notice, at least over the last couple of years, there's a rhythm. A new writer takes over. He likes to open up all the toys, play with the popular ones everybody likes to see: Riddler, Bane in recent years, Joker. If they're lucky, they'll put in maybe an original character that may or may not stick. Look, Scott Snyder had a great thing going with the Court of Owls. Not so much with that Mr. Bloom guy, again, that big flower guy, for example. And I kept seeing that same pattern, and I was like, this is where I can get off the bus on Batman.
Right. No, I agree. It's rinse, run the story, rinse, repeat, do it again. Yeah. I specifically read that one stretch where he was going against oh God, now I'm drawing a blank. The fear guy. Scarecrow. Just because it wasn't Joker. I mean, I was up to here with Joker, and I'm like, I'm done with the Joker and Batman. It's been going on forever. And they introduced the Scarecrow. I said, I haven't read a lot with Scarecrow, so let me do that. I love the Quarter Owls because that was a whole different thing. I loved Hush because it was a whole different thing. So when they do break off like that, it's to me, that's where I Batman will shine for me forever. So, but yeah, absolutely, I agree.
It's funny. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, you're good. As an artist, right? You get to do a one shot of one comic from either company.
This is a good one.
Who are you going to draw, or what team are you going to draw? Just what characters are you going to draw in this one shot? and who do you want writing it for your pencils?
Can I do both?
You can.
Oh yeah, you
Okay.
can. You could
This-
even post it like Rob says. This book is failing. Who do you want? Marvel has come to you. Tell us who the character is and how you're gonna fix it.
This is one. I'm going to preface this by saying this. When COVID started, I did a couple of online courses with the Cubert School in writing.
Right.
And the second class I took, the mistake I made was I didn't think of original characters because it was like, oh, well, now I can't sell these things. But the second class I took was from Dan DiDio on like how to pitch. And when I presented this idea, he started by saying, why the hell would I care about this character? And then on our last class, he was like, okay, I got to go back and read this now. I think we need a Cardiac series.
Oh, I love Cardiac.
Here's the thing. Marvel is, like we were saying, they want to go into this younger market. You're seeing a more diverse set of heroes. You've had this hero who has been there all the time, who is just as smart as Tony Stark, definitely not as rich. It doesn't look like he has a big money problem, at least from what I'm aware of. And really, he's kind of like Frankenstein and the monster all together. He experimented on himself to basically save his brother and then to fight off these big kind of corporate entities basically in the future. And I think that really his only drawback, besides the fact that none of his costumes have a nose, is
but
that
his costume I love.
It's great, but now I know that I mentioned a little while ago, I love Mike Del Mondo's work. The only thing I despise that he's done, he did a one-shot for Fear Itself with Cardiac, where they were like, okay, let's get rid of the shoulder pads and the cod piece. And he just looked odd. He looked like an alien.
Right.
Yeah, I think he's really, his drawback, besides the fact, again, his costume's a little weird, he came out at the exact same time Carnage came out. So he was just overshadowed.
He's almost 30 years old now.
I was going to say, he got overshadowed.
Yeah.
And I think he's one of the underrated Spider-Man ancillary characters that are out there. Because when he showed up, I like him way better than Carnage. I'm not a symbiote guy. Now, Cardiac, you could empathize with.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're doing a Cardiac one-shot? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah.
For Marvel. Nice. Now, what are you doing for DC?
DC. Again, I don't go as deep as DC with Marvel. To be honest with you, I didn't jump into DC until really right around Origin. When Wolverine Origin came out, I was like, I want to diversify a little bit, and picked up DC here and there. That being said, I really liked what Soule and Snyder did on Swamp Thing, Animal Man.
Oh, okay.
The two series out of New 52 kind of worked in tandem together.
Sure.
I would do some sort of a team up with them. You know, they touched on a lot of what's with the green and with the red, from what I remember. Mm-hmm. And I think something like that revisited would work well.
Nice. I like the picks.
Yeah.
I also think, you know what? Sorry, I forgot about this until now. Another, one of the classes you had to write 8-page scripts. And one of the ones I wrote, again, not with the foresight to think of my own original character. I always think, as long as she's been around for a long time, but I don't think we've seen the quintessential Catwoman series or the Catwoman story. And I think that there's a story in there that needs to be told too.
Huh. Now, you would have had me if you said Black Cat, but...
Potato.
I'm a Felicia Hardy guy, but yeah, no, Selena Kyle's nice too, though. They're both great characters.
Oh, yeah.
Now, having mentioned them, what is your favorite comic couple?
Couple.
Right, like Peter and MJ, Reed and Sue, Batman, Selena, Bruce and Selena, Superman and Lois. There's so many couples out there.
I do like how King did Bruce and Selena, but I'd have to say my all-time favorite, I think Cyclops and Jean Grey.
Oh,
when
nice.
she's alive, of course.
When she's alive.
Yes.
It's creepy when he's with her when she's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. That whole Emma Frost, I think was Jean dead at the time when she did that? She disguised herself as Phoenix. I think so.
I think I got out of reading the X-Men by that time.
I think she did. I think she had passed by then.
Yeah, because it was during, I think, Astonishing, during the first arc in that. Yeah. Blasters.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
By the way, Gary, you know what? There's something I wanted to tell you too, because I remember watching one of your videos. You were saying that you've gotten off the bus on X-Men and whatnot, but I remember you mentioning is it I always confuse the two. Is it Warpath that you like, the younger brother of Thunderbird,
the Native American
Yeah.
Warpath? Yeah.
Yeah, no, Warpath is cool. Yeah.
I've been telling people, hear me out, the most interesting X-Men book right now is New Mutants. When Vita Alea, I'm probably not saying her name right, took over with Rod Rice art. Rod Rice is very abstract, not for everybody. There is an issue, and I was trying to find it earlier today just to reference it to you. You would like, because it really puts a great spotlight on Warpath, and it really uses those little interludes that all of the modern day X-Men books do. They do these little one-shots where it looks like it's a memo or a text or something like that. They really hit it home with him. And if I find that number, if I can remember which one it is, I'm going to message it to you because I think you would love it.
All right.
I probably would too.
Yeah.
Because I really liked the New Mutants movie, and nobody really watched it or paid attention. Because I like Danny Moonstar a lot too. I think she's a great character. I thought she was portrayed really well in the movie.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. The movie on its own didn't do it for me. I think it was really just a victim of the Fox Disney merger. I think with a couple more months, maybe some special effects and reshoots, you could have had a good movie there.
Yeah.
Well, I liked it enough where I wanted to see what was going to happen with these characters in another movie.
Yeah.
Because one of my other favorite characters in X-Force, my favorite person was Wolfsbane. So,
Oh yeah.
Man, you got them both here, but nice. So, sorry.
No problem.
Got stuck up. So we're going to start. We've been going an hour, 2 minutes. We're going to start wrapping up here. We'll get to a final question for you, Jim, and for me. And then we'll start talking about what we have coming up on our channels. But before I get to your question, Jim, we'll go with mine. And what I wanted to know is what's coming up for you, Phil, like channel-wise? What are you looking to develop your channel into? And are you looking to change direction at all? Or you like the ship you think is steady on its course as it is?
I'm kind of like a take it as it comes kind of person. I don't have an overall aim or focus. I did this for fun. I continue to do this because it's fun. I do want to get into more interviews. I started a series just last week called 7-Minute Stories, where I ask people to say, hey, what is the story of your comic book collecting history in 7 minutes or less? And I only have done one so far. That was with Matt Woods. And it was a lot of fun. I want to continue with that. There are some other interviews, too, I want to do. For example, there is a gentleman here in Jersey, Sean Wolf, who does a show on Facebook called Cooking with Stupid.
Oh, nice.
And once a month on the Facebook channel, he does an auction where he gets donations really from LCSs all around our area. And whatever is done in that auction, he'll give it to whatever charity is sponsoring it, or charity he's spotlit for that month. I learned about him because during COVID, he did one for my LCS. So I started tuning into him then. And, look, I like any time that you can, in my mind, transfer some of these heroic stories we read into some real world heroics and real world goodness,
Sure.
I think it's a plus. So I want to talk to him. And Anthony Desiato, who I mentioned earlier, I want to talk to him not only because of his documentary and podcast work, but just he has an encyclopedic knowledge on Superman.
Right.
And I like that stuff too, and I especially like seeing that with the stars that go visit the kids and stuff, and they just show up in costume.
Right.
And they're not getting paid for that. They're just making some kid's day in a hospital bed somewhere, and just giving them a little bit of hope in their day and a little bit of joy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we have a guy here in Rochester who he's out of the panel comics on YouTube, but his name's Dan Can, and he does a great job. He has this little charity, and it's great because he collects all these pops and stuff, and he takes them to the hospitals, and they all get donated to the children there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
So just really, it's fun. And my LCS Rhinos Comics always has a bunch for him. And if any of us get any pops that we get, win, buy, or whatever we find, we all take them to him, and he just redistributes them to children. Because everything's like, you can't give, in this day and age, you can't give like floppies, or everything's got to be sealed that goes to the kids. It can't be open.
Right.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's tough getting books in kids' hands.
Right. Unless you get like a Walmart packs or something that's already been sealed up, I would think be all right.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, then it's hard to police the books too if they're appropriate or not.
Sure. Yeah, that's the worst part. Yeah. Absolutely.
One of my younger sisters is a teacher. I think she teaches kindergarten, and it was getting towards the end of the year. It was a couple of years ago, and she asked, "Oh, are there any comics I could bring and just show to my students?" And I wound up giving her a trade paperback that was just a collection of old, like 60s Marvel. So actually, I'm looking at it across the room. It's the very best of Marvel, it's called. And I was like, all right, you're not going to find anything offensive in here or whatnot. And I remember she came back and she was like, yeah. Now, one of the parents complained because there was a reprint of a Fantastic Four where Reed kissed Sue, but that was about it. Yeah. Well, welcome to the 2020s. If there's a reason to complain, they'll complain.
Reed kissed Sue.
Hey, that book showed love. Get that out of here.
Yeah, we can't
he had real affection for his wife.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, you touched base on the question I was going to ask. I mean, how does a guy get on the 7-minute show? Because that looked really fun. Matt looked like he had fun doing it. Both of you did, and I think you should definitely keep it up. That could become, when you're sitting over there, and I know what you're saying, and I know because I felt it myself. I'm like, gosh, I need to do something. When you have something set up like Gary's done here, it eases that tension, that anxiety. Oh, yeah. So having, saying, you know what, on this day, I'm going to do a 7-minute show, and it doesn't require you to, I don't want to say put an effort into it, but the onus is going to be on the person you're interviewing. They're doing all the heavy lifting in a way. But it gives you a spot to say, on this day I did it, so that you have content, and that's and you're also introducing a new person into the community that we may not know.
Yeah, and you know what I have to say too, it's just a whole lot of fun. I mean, even though that little overview is 7 minutes, of course we'll still talk before and after. I joke around that. I've started to joke around that it's the longest 7 minutes you'll find on the internet. And, the one drawback, I do all of my recording and everything on my phone. So using StreamYard, you can't do visual effects or stuff yet, at least through your phone. So I'm kind of got my iPad here in the corner the whole time. And I'm just kind of like, all right, you got 1 minute, 2 minutes go by, 3 minutes. And I kind of like that because it's like almost like a little kid saying, hey, you got to hurry up.
Right.
And,
it's like singing you off at the Oscars, huh?
Right. Exactly. It's like singing you off at the Oscars. But you know what? That's good. Yep. It also helps the person to say, man, I talked too much on this origin story. Let me give you the Clip Notes version.
But you know what's interesting on that? When I did it myself, I did it. I timed myself first before I interviewed anybody else, and I shot it and put it up. you get a weird focus on exactly what your comic story is, because in my 7 minutes, like when I was trying to think about it, I make a little outline. I'm like, look, I could have talked about how I bought Brute Force when I was a kid, and bought like anything ninja you could. But when you're in that 7 minutes, you're just concentrating on, okay, this is what I focused on here. This was my favorite stuff. Yeah, I bought everything and everything all Avengers, but this was my main focus.
Right.
And it really gives you clarity. And I think that's actually kind of helped me with organization too, because now I'm in the spot where I'm like, all right, I have too many comics. I'm going to have to start at least trying to get rid of some of these. And I've been giving away some trade paperbacks here and there every week. I'm kind of like, okay, look, do I need like the copy of Man from Atlantis that I somehow have in my collection? And
Heck,
I think
yeah,
that
you do.
7-minute focus.
Right?
Heck yeah, you do. Patrick Duffy, baby.
I don't know how I have that or where I got it. I honestly think we left the house one day and somebody just came, put it in the collection, and walked out of the house.
This is going to freak him out. I know I didn't buy this.
Where is that? There you go.
Where did this come from?
That's a horror. That would probably be my wife's favorite horror movie. Is just books start appearing in your collection out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere.
Like,
Right.
Oh my God! It's
So
another
she's
comic.
slowly getting buried.
Well,
eBay's coming again.
Right. So no, okay. Well, that was my question though. Was are you going to continue that? Because I thoroughly enjoyed it with Matt, and I think it's a good placeholder for you to say, you know what, I can do this show and I can do it quickly, and it gets you set up so where you're not so worried about, hey, do I what I got to make some content. I that's the one thing about my brother and I both. When I started doing it, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to put up what I want to put up, and I'm not going to, and it's a chance that you may not see a video for 2 weeks because that's just the way my life is. I've got other things I'm doing, or, and I don't want to be on a schedule. I'm
the opposite of you. Like as soon as I started doing YouTube, Jim, I felt the need to always have content for people.
And a lot of people do. And my brother's the same way. I was like, why don't you start a YouTube video? He's like, I don't know. I'm never gonna have time to do it. I said, that's okay. It doesn't, you do it at your own pace. I try to put something out if I get something cool and that I purchased, then I want to show it off. Absolutely. I'm going to make a video because I want other people to see it. So
yeah.
Anyway.
It's weird. I do the unboxings, but I always feel a little bit silly in retrospect doing them because like, this is kind of like when I was doing show and tell as a kid.
Right. And a lot of YouTube is show and tell.
Oh yeah.
But that's why, and for me, that's why I started the 2 live shows I have. Is it fun showing books? Yeah, but I also like the connecting thing.
Sure.
And part of my whole channel, because I got some help when I got started, I got a few shout outs, but part of my focus is promoting people in the community. And I find some of the best ways to do that is just to get them on a show so a new audience finds them.
Right.
Yeah. And you do a great job doing that. I mean, I probably got to you through Matt, but since I started watching your channel here and there, Gary, I've been introduced just to so many other channels. And, the issue I get into is that, like, I'll see somebody and I'm like, oh, I have to check out their channel. I write it down, and then maybe I won't check it out for weeks or for months because there's just so much YouTube you could watch.
Right.
Well, I was going to say, there's only so much time in the day. You always feel bad, but, the more subscribers you get, the harder it is to keep up with watching content. It's I'm always telling people like, oh, I'm sorry I didn't get to watch your video. I'm like, dude, if you just check in and once a month and give me a like and a comment on one, I understand, dude. It's fine.
Right.
Especially me. I put out way too much shit. I put out like 4 or 5 videos a week, plus I do a daily short.
Yeah.
But it's tough. Life is busy.
I mean, I try to do at least 1 recorded video a week. But just starting the live video, that really helps out a lot too, that live Saturday morning video.
Yeah.
But what was interesting is, especially while my wife was pregnant, I found myself just kind of making pockets of time to do it. Like there's a whole series of videos I did, because this was at the height of COVID. I wasn't allowed in the doctor's office with her. So I'd be sitting in my car for half hour, waiting while she comes in. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to record a video in my car.
Right.
And I just remember the very last one that I did, it was like in the middle of the night. It was like the coldest night of the year, in just the weirdest, it's a parking lot, like on top, the building itself is like on top of a mountain. And if you're local, it's in West Orange. If not, that means nothing to you. But it's like pretty much in a lone area. And I'm in this darkly lit parking lot, and you hear doors slamming and everything. So every 5 minutes, it was like a horror movie. I was jumping around like, oh, somebody's there. I was like, nope. And it looked, I felt so spastic, but it was hilarious while I was doing it. So I always joke that I don't even know why. It was just one of those things that flew out of my very tired brain that, oh, Judi Dench is going to sneak up on us.
Yeah.
So I've just kind of animated Judi Dench into some of those videos.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But just
Dame Judi Dench.
Exactly. And it's just, you just find little pockets of time where you can do it.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Right. And like I said, for me, this is my zen. This is how I relax from the stresses of everyday life.
Right.
Yeah.
And, get to talk to people like you guys. Like, I was excited for tonight because I'm like, I've never actually talked to Phil. This will be fun. I get to actually meet Phil. And that's the greatest thing about doing live shows. You get to talk to so many people you've never actually had an interaction with before.
Yeah. And I like that too, just because I get different perspectives. He asked me questions I've never thought about. And whenever I'm on a show, this is the second one I've been on. I was on Brian LCS's show a couple months ago. I'll send out a message to my parents and my brothers and sisters, and they're like, "Oh wow, you're being interviewed? Really? Oh, like it helps legitimize it." Like, okay, wow.
Easy, Phil. Get to know me.
Yeah. I texted my parents, I'm going to be on Gary B's show, and it was like I could have said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to be on Letterman."
Yeah.
And then they'll see me and go, "Oh, you're on Gary B's
Oh,
show."
that guy.
Oh, that guy. Yeah.
He's no Letterman. All right.
Oh,
Awesome.
Excellent. Phil, thank you for coming out tonight. Super appreciate it. Jim, what's coming up for you, sir?
I will have an unboxing if the boxes ever get here. I am waiting patiently for the post office to deliver them. I have some pickups that I got from T. Ravis, and Roscoe is supposed to be sending me some stuff that I purchased. And by the way, speaking of that, Phil, Nick's Kix and Comix does a garage sale on Sunday in the morning, where people can get up and sell their books if they want to. He usually, you can message him and say, "Hey, I want to have a little slot. I've got a certain number of books here." And if they sell, they sell. If they don't, they don't. But yeah, I bought some stuff from Roscoe off of one of them. So I'm waiting on that package as well. I do metal detecting.
Wait, that whole section of the video was cutting out. My wife might even not have heard that part.
But man from Atlantis, man, you never know. I might be on there and go, "Yeah, I gotta have that. I gotta have that." But I do metal detecting, and I'm going out tomorrow. I'm gonna try to shoot some video, which is not always easy to do by yourself, but I'm gonna try it. And I have a spot that I have a permission to go to. Hopefully we'll find something. If not, you'll never see it.
Can I ask you a question about the metal detecting?
Absolutely.
Have you ever found anything?
You're going to need to be. I've found everything.
Have you ever found, like, I'll preface this. I'm a huge fan of Josh Gates.
Okay.
And I love watching when he goes wherever he's looking for, and there's inevitably somebody with either a metal detector or some super kind of scanner.
Right.
And sometimes he finds something interesting, sometimes he doesn't. So I want to, did you ever find any artifacts or something that was just like really cool?
And that's the thing. So the place I'm going back for a second time because I scanned it really fast with the detector, and it's a half-acre lot, and that doesn't seem like a whole lot, but that's a lot that if you go really slow, you'll pick up a lot more signals. And I had a short amount of time to do it. And I didn't think the guy was going to say yes, to be honest with you. But I did find a very cool Zachary Taylor presidential token, which I'm not sure if I haven't researched it yet, if it was a token that came out a lot of time back in the 40s and 50s. They made these tokens through gas stations to promote the presidency, because he was a president. But that's the first one I've ever found. So that was a big deal to me. But yeah, I find all kinds of stuff. I did one house from the 40s that I found a key fob from the early 1900s that had no business being in that yard, but because it was within walking distance of the state, or the not state but county fairgrounds, that area had been around since the 1800s. So my guess is this guy came through the fairgrounds to, promote himself when he was running for president. Of course, he didn't win, but yeah, I mean, I had to do research to figure that one out too. But
yeah, I'll admit, when you said Zachary Thomas or Zachary Taylor the first time, I thought you were going with the kid from Home Improvement.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I try to find interesting stuff. I hope to find interesting stuff. Sometimes you don't. I've been to a property that was from the 1800s, and all I found was a lot of old iron farm equipment. Somebody else might have been there and found all the cool stuff. You never know. But it's my other addiction.
Yeah, it's funny you said that too. You were having me thinking of when I was in college. My senior year, we rented a house. Went to Rutgers, New Brunswick, and we rented a house that the landlord told us at one time was like a connecting tunnel to another house that was a speakeasy.
Sure.
Wow.
And we used to be walking in, something would creak or something. You'd find like hidden compartments. There was nothing ever in them. I think there was an empty bottle once. But
that's
really,
so cool.
Yeah. Well, the only remnant, though, I have to say, of the speakeasy time was they, I guess, walled off what used to be the entrance to the other place. Sure. And it was just a really tight closet with a very small bathroom. It was so little that they had to install the toilet where it was facing the sink. So it's like you had the sink here and the front of the bowl here.
Yeah.
So you had to sit side saddle.
Right.
Basically. But yeah, that's been the depth of my exploration, I guess you could say.
There you go. That's it. That's for me.
Well, coming up on me, we got something interesting this Tuesday on the 1011, and that is Pocan Joe.
Oh, yeah, Pocan
and
Joe.
Jim will be co-hosting on that episode as well. Yes. I believe. Didn't you say, Jim?
I love me some Pocan Joe.
Yep. So that dude's always a lot of fun. And then I have, of course, my Savage Saturday comic review coming out. And let's see. I forgot who we had. Of course,
Pocan Joe made this Green Lantern ring for me.
That's cool.
Yeah, it has glow powder in it, so if I keep it out long enough, the inside will glow. Yeah, that's Joe, though. He made a flash ring for my brother and a Green Lantern ring for me.
Wow.
So he's got that skill.
And just an all-around interesting dude.
Yes, the evil lair.
What's coming up for you, sir?
Well, in the immediate future, Saturday, 11 a.m., I'll have Last Week Today, my Saturday morning show. Sometimes my wife is on with me off camera. She's a little shy. My son, if he's up, so you might hear little Grogu sounds, throughout the video. Other than that, I do have another unboxing to do. Actually, it was from the original owner of my LCS, Fat Moose Comics. He sent me an AOK recently. I like to try to span out my unboxings if I can, to spread them out. I do, like I said, I want to do a couple interviews. And you guys mentioned 7-minute stories. I would love to have each of you on for 7-minute stories.
I'm always game. I don't know how I would condense anything into 7 minutes, but I'm game to try.
Well, that's part of the fun.
That's part of the fun. Exactly. All right.
All right,
Awesome.
and guys, I want to thank the audience for coming out. Both of these gentlemen, their links are in the description below. If you haven't subbed up Jim, why not? If you haven't subbed up Phil, head on over, sub Phil up. If you guys are watching this on the rewind, these episodes get lots of rewind play, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this evening's episode. I want to thank Jim again for co-hosting, Phil
Yes,
for
sir.
being gracious and coming on the show. Again, thank you to everyone in the audience. I appreciate each and every one of you guys supporting the channel as you do every week for the shows that we put on. And we just have a blast meeting and talking to people. That's what it's all about. And until next time, keep it casual. Attention all, use channel sponsor Rogue Trader at theroguetraderutah.com and my code, keep it casual, for 10% off your comic cleaning and pressing needs. Remember, when submitting your books to be graded, use a trusted professional.